are many reasons for an organization to start operating internationally. For this assignment, we will be describing 4 reasons that could be an important influence to an organization in starting operating worldwide. We will mainly link these concepts to the country Cuba and the business media market. The first reason that MediaMarkt could use to start operating internationally is brand awareness. Brand awareness is about people immediately recognizing or recalling a specific brand and getting certain feelings when they think of the brand. Consumers should be able to recover a brand from their memories when they have been given a clue about the brand, logo, or products, for example. It is easier to recognize a brand rather than recalling it from the memory. Organizations that can maintain a higher level of brand awareness compared to the competitor have a higher chance of generating more sales. There are different methods to maintain brand awareness under people. Social media is a very effective tool for creating brand awareness. A lot of time is being spent on social media networking sites such as Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. Consumers get the opportunity to like certain products and services on social media, and they can also share their personal opinions online. This can also be in the form of a review.
This is an example of the social media that MediaMarkt uses. This is their Facebook page.
So, how is brand awareness exactly created through social media? When a person writes a review on the internet about a product of MediaMarkt, for instance, other people who read the review might buy the same product when this person recommends it to his or her followers. So, mentioning the organization where they bought the product from would introduce people with the organization itself. If the consumer is already familiar with MediaMarkt, they will get some type of feeling when hearing the name or seeing it somewhere on social media. Brand awareness is also created through traditional advertising. Think of magazines and the newspapers. Strategically placed advertisements attract the consumer's attention, and this creates brand awareness. For example, a magazine for electronic products and services brings out their new issue and decides to ask MediaMarkt to feature some of their electronic equipment in the magazine. This creates brand awareness with people who like to read about electronic products, and they can also see that they can buy some of the products at MediaMarkt. MediaMarkt also brings out their own flyers with special discounts and new products and services, which the consumer receives in their mail or email. Of course, it's very important for MediaMarkt to create a lot of brand awareness once they start operating internationally, especially since consumers from abroad are unfamiliar with the organization. MediaMarkt will gain more customers and profit once they start operating worldwide. The organization will also become a lot bigger and more people will be aware of it. If MediaMarkt decides to operate in Cuba, they have to do more than just creating brand awareness through the internet. This is because a very low percentage of people within Cuba have access to the internet. MediaMarkt could create more brand awareness in Cuba by advertising through billboards across the highway and on the streets, spreading flyers, and by advertising on television. Another reason for MediaMarkt to start operating internationally can be growth. MediaMarkt started out as a small electronic equipment store and became the #1 electronic equipment store within Europe throughout the years. MediaMarkt can definitely benefit from operating internationally as they have the potential to grow even more. There are already 700 stores within 14 countries in only Europe, which means MediaMarkt is growing a lot. The gross domestic product within Cuba expanded with 4.3% last year, compared to 2014, where the GDP only expanded with 1.3%. The United States maintained a trade embargo on the country more than 50 years ago, and as a result of this, the growth prospects of Cuba remain weak. This can be a hard challenge for MediaMarkt as they want to start operating in Cuba.
These are the MediaMarkt stores all over the Netherlands. And as you can see, there are a lot of stores of the MediaMarkt in the Netherlands.
Also, the people who live in Cuba don't have a lot of money. This means that they can't buy expensive electronic equipment and have to find cheaper alternatives. MediaMarkt can choose to offer these alternatives as they decide to only sell inexpensive products and services. Because of the low income the Cubans have to live from, these citizens can barely afford online access, which costs $5 for only 1 hour, which is more than most Cubans earn in 1 week. Barely 5% of Cuban citizens have access to the internet. Cuba has one of the world's most repressive environments when it comes to the internet or any other ways of technology. So most of MediaMarkt's products consist out of electronic equipment that is tied to a working internet connection, and people can't really benefit from these products if an internet connection is required. This means that if this Cuban MediaMarkt would sell electronic equipment, they might suffer from a huge profit loss because people wouldn't buy it due to their bad internet access. So, even though most Cuban citizens don't have access to the internet, smartphones have become more common to use through the years in Cuba. These smartphones get used to share music, send texts, make calls, or play games. So MediaMarkt can actually still sell smartphones because these are getting used although the income of many Cuban people is very low. A good solution for this problem is only selling the cheaper smartphones so people can still afford to have one. The trade embargo and low income of Cuban citizens does not mean that MediaMarkt doesn't have potential to grow within the country. It might take a lot of effort, but with the right strategies, they can definitely grow. If MediaMarkt decides to only sell the products that the people in Cuba can afford, or if they adjust the product range based on the weather and people that live in a certain area, for example, it means that they can still operate within Cuba and use different aspects of the country to their own advantage.
Diversification is about building new products, exploring new markets, or taking new risks. It is a corporate strategy to enter into a new market, or it helps to reduce the risk involved in specializing in one product or service. MediaMarkt really uses a diversification strategy. They sell computers, printers, phones, headphones, and many more. This is very good for their customer base because the customers know that they can go to the MediaMarkt for a lot of different things. This is also very good for the shopping experience because the customers enjoy seeing a lot of different products. MediaMarkt has experts for every category of products that they sell. So for example, for the computers they have a group of experts who will help customers with the questions that they have so that the customers will make the best decision on which computer they will buy. Diversification is something that I really recommend MediaMarkt to do in Cuba because there aren't a lot of businesses that sell so many electronics. If the customers want to buy a TV, but they need a sound system with it, they can buy this all at once at the MediaMarkt. If a family decides that they need an iPhone, a printer, a washing machine, and a headphone, they can simply drive to the MediaMarkt and buy everything at once. Diversification also means that businesses move to new areas. MediaMarkt has a lot of experience with affiliates all over the world, and this is what really makes them successful. They do research to the new areas where they want to open a store to make sure that the store fits in the area and that they will open a new successful store. For example, it would not be smart if MediaMarkt decides to open a new store on the countryside, because only a few people live on the countryside and it is not easy for people from the city to visit the countryside. But if MediaMarkt decides to open a store in the center of a city, it would be really easy for people to reach. Cost reduction is an important reason for businesses like MediaMarkt to operate internationally. Cost reduction reduces cost and it increases the profits of businesses. It provides cheaper workforces. For example, MediaMarkt can employ people way cheaper in Cuba because the wage in Cuba is very low. The transport to other countries also can be much cheaper. For example, if the Netherlands ships goods to Germany, it will be very cheap because they are both countries in the EU and they have an open trade border. But Cuba does not have countries like the Netherlands or Germany where they can transfer goods for a low price into Cuba. In fact, it will cost the MediaMarkt a lot of money to transport goods into Cuba because they do not have open borders. So MediaMarkt can't really reduce costs with the transport to Cuba. It is important for businesses to save as much money as possible so that their incomes will be higher than their expenditures so that they will not get a deficit. There are a few strategies for businesses to reduce costs. For example, the expense category. This is the most common method that small business owners use to cut their excess costs. But big businesses like MediaMarkt can definitely use these strategies. For example, instead of keep printing out posters and magazines to hand out to their customers, MediaMarkt can choose to send their advertisements online through email, on websites, or on the TV as a commercial. This will lead to less paper and ink that needs to be bought and the posters to be produced. Another strategy is the product. MediaMarkt needs to research which products sell good and which don't. Because products that don't sell good will lead to the MediaMarkt losing money. The MediaMarkt pays shipping costs for the products and the products take place in the store. That can be used for another product that will sell good and will lead to MediaMarkt making money instead of losing it. Because MediaMarkt has a lot of affiliates, they have a lot of experience and a good indication on what they can and cannot do to reduce costs. But because Cuba is a whole different country than they are used to, I would recommend MediaMarkt to hire a professional from Cuba to help them with what the MediaMarkt can and cannot do to reduce costs in Cuba.
We are now moving on to the marketing of the business. The marketing strategies of a business that wants to operate internationally are very important. Good marketing is key to more customers, and this will of course lead to higher sales. There are multiple marketing strategies that can be applied to a business and their ways of working, and I will be explaining a few of these strategies and how MediaMarkt can adapt these once they start operating within Cuba. We are starting with the international strategies. These are important to MediaMarkt since they desire a global presence. The international strategies allow them to be more adaptable and flexible at a lesser cost than when they have to set up their own company or subsidiary abroad. So, what can MediaMarkt do to gain more global presence? First of all, MediaMarkt could co-produce its products and services with an organization that is operating within Cuba, which is obviously the country they want to have a presence in. This means that they could provide certain products to the customer in co-production with another business. An example for this is the selling of smartphones in order to text or make phone calls. MediaMarkt could start a collaboration with the phone provider by selling smartphones and giving a discount on the service by the phone provider when the customer decides to buy the smartphone and the service. It might also be a cheaper option for people there to afford a new smartphone because you don't have to pay for it at once. Secondly, MediaMarkt could enter into a joint venture with yet another company that is set up in Cuba. This means that each company owns an agreed percentage of MediaMarkt itself. Last but not least, they could enter into an agreement with a business for them to manufacture or provide the service locally under license. Now moving on to the other marketing strategies, MediaMarkt could, before trading abroad, undertake a market research in order to identify the target market as well as looking up the trends and the behavior of the consumers that live in Cuba. This is all very important in making marketing decisions, as MediaMarkt should know what their customers want and what their interests may be. One component of the marketing mix is promotion. It's important for MediaMarkt to consider if legislation within Cuba affects the advertising and promotion of certain products. It is forbidden within Cuba to use GPS systems and to take them with you to the country. So, MediaMarkt should know that they can better not sell TomToms or promote and sell smartphones with a GPS system that can track your location, for example. Another reason for MediaMarkt to start operating internationally is human resource management. It's important for MediaMarkt to have an effectively and efficient human resource strategy to make sure that their operations will go smoothly, especially since they want to operate abroad. There are some issues that the HRM department of MediaMarkt has to take into consideration, though. When opening a store in Cuba, MediaMarkt obviously has to hire the right people to give the customer the best service as possible. These people get trained by the business to provide people with good service, but education is also a factor that needs to be taken in consideration when recruiting a new employee. Cuba's education system is very good since the government provides a good education to the country's students for free, meaning that more people go to school and get their qualification. These people are more motivated to go to school and study so they can get a good job in the future with a higher income. MediaMarkt could hire a lot of students who are eager to learn something about technology. Training employees will be a very helpful method, as well as the new employees will gain knowledge about the products and services that MediaMarkt sells. This helps the employees into providing the customer with the best knowledge and service possible. Since MediaMarkt is European, they could offer their Cuban employees the opportunity to work within the EU when they have been working in the Cuban MediaMarkt for a while. This is called labor mobility. MediaMarkt shouldn't have to worry about having enough and good employees, though. This is because the country has a lot of people who would want a job within the business. Also, the Cuban healthcare is free, so the citizens get good healthcare for free, which means that they can go to the doctor whenever they want to, and probably will be less sick rather than people from countries that have a bad healthcare. This is something MediaMarkt can benefit from because if Cuba had a bad healthcare system, people would be more sick and they would have a problem if their employees would be sick all the time.